Welcome to episode 7 of Fill the Glass, the vlog that has nothing to do with drinking. I'm Kerry Millsap. This week, I welcome my longtime friend, Gummi Jósepsson, to the show. Gummi lives near Reykjavik, Iceland, which I think, isn't that in Africa?
Yes, very
Yes.
close to Africa. Yes,
Maybe it's the same time zone. But
it is actually. Yes.
in spite of the distance, I've worked with him pretty closely over the years. He's helped me immensely with every it seems like every writing project I've done since 2008. He's just a great thinker and a fun guy to be around. I like spending time with him, and that's why I talk to him nearly every week. So Gummi, happy Pi Day.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
Same to you.
it's Pi Day. Does that mean we eat pie?
All calculated. I don't know. By
Okay,
the way.
either one I'm good with.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I've asked Gumi to be on the show today is because he's got some very interesting stories that I wanted him to share, and let's just get started. There's one that is just when you hear the description of it, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I remember the first time you said, "Hey, Carrie, I used Oracle trace data to prove that someone's antivirus software was their problem and not the thing that they had thought was their problem." And it just sounds impossible. Like, how in the world is it possible to use Oracle trace data to prove that somebody's antivirus software is the root cause of their performance problem?
Yeah. That was a fun project actually. This was a power company, and they had a client. It was like accounting software or something like that. And they were complaining that it would take between 45 seconds and 1 minute just to start that application on a PC. This was back in the day. Um, and this application connected to an Oracle database, and they thought, okay, because I can't say the word, but something flows downhill
Right.
and always lands on the database. So I said, okay, let's do this trace thing that I know how to do. So we did that, and I traced the startup of the application, and all I got in the trace logs was SQL message from client. Nothing was happening, and CPU usage and everything on the database server was just minimum. There was nothing going on. So I said to them, okay, I'm sitting and watching this thing, and I'm waiting the entire time for the client. Something is happening on that PC where you started that thing. And they said, well, what can it be? We have no idea. So I downloaded, I think it was called FileMon or Diskmon by Mark Rosinovich back in the day. I installed that on that PC, did the same thing again. And what happened is that I saw the client was downloading some kind of configuration file, which was about 60 megabytes in size. And the antivirus just went crazy on that thing and didn't do anything and didn't let the users use the application until they were done scanning it. So it was a combination of using trace data and somebody else's product to
Uh-huh.
prove, hey, you need to disable the antivirus or do something else. And what they figured out was not to download that configuration file every time, just store it on the PC. And
Yeah.
after they did that, it started up in less than a second.
So the trace data basically was step one to prove that it wasn't the Oracle database, in spite of the fact that everybody always blames. I don't know why everybody always blames Oracle. I think it's probably because it's the most expensive thing, and it's the thing, the project names always have the word Oracle in them. So maybe that's the label that people can glom onto the easiest.
Yeah, and I think it's also, if you're in that chain somewhere, you can always point to somebody else. But if at the database level, it's very hard to point to somebody. You can do, yeah, maybe find a sysadmin, who's not looking when you're talking about the problem, but usually end up with that monkey in your lap.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that for those of you who don't know, let me go back and share the screen again. Let's see if I can do this quickly. Um, Gummi used to live in the United States, and I think let's see there's your name, your big name, today's
Yeah.
guest, Gummi on troubleshooting. So you've got all these fantastical like made up letters in your name. Can you explain that?
Yeah, yeah. I guess we can just manage more letters, than you guys or something.
Right. Yeah,
But
you've got more slots in your brain for alphabet entries.
something like that. Our alphabet has 36 letters rather than 26.
Yikes.
So yeah. So instead of that one that you're circling around, that's the F,
Yes.
which is usually, a TH sound, soft TH sound in English. And most people, when they see that, they think that's a funny O with some, magic on top. But yeah, that's basically F.
When I see it, I feel like doing a partial derivative of something.
Okay.
I don't know. And then it's like no, because the cross. And then there's this I kept trying to rub my screen to get rid of this little thing, but then I realized that's part of the O.
Yeah, that's actually, the O sound in my language. If you don't have that thing on top, the thing that you wanted to clean off, the O is O. So
I see.
we use that to distinguish.
So I'm not the only one that has trouble with this because I try to acknowledge you in this book, this one. And O'Reilly didn't have a font with an S or an O in it. So at least the font, I think it's called Mirka or something. It didn't have these letters in it. So they had to go with I think that's probably Courier New or something like that. So it was quite amazing. You're the only person in the whole book. Even Björn Inksik has, the normal font, but you, Gummi, you get your whole name, not just the two letters, but your whole name in Courier New. And so the next story that I wanted, oh, by the way, so that's how you like to be addressed is in Courier New. So I will leave that there
Yes.
for a moment. The next story I wanted you to tell was when you did some work with one of the world's major airlines, and I think that's a fascinating story. So let me put the camera back on you and let me ask you to tell that one.
Yeah, sure. A few years ago, we had a client at the company where I was working at the time. And they contacted us because we were their go-to guys for Oracle, whatever, if it was installation, programming, performance, whatever. And they said, well, we've had this recommendation from our hosting vendor. They actually co-located the old style infrastructure. And they say that we need a new SAN, which incidentally they were selling as well. So,
I see.
okay, uh, something smells wrong here. So we asked them, why are they saying this? Well, we've got these three jobs, and yeah, admittedly, they take a long time to run. So we did the usual thing. We traced uh, whatever was going wrong, and we could prove that the hardware vendor and the colocation vendor was actually right on one thing. The SATA disks that they provided were actually slow. But two of the jobs in the data warehouse on that SAN read very little from those disks. Those were really efficient queries. So even if I forget how many milliseconds each read took, but it was fairly slow. There was very little used of it. So it was maybe 1% of the total runtime of the query. So something else was bothering it. Another job was really IO intensive. So, okay, you've got something there, but that issue rather than spending $250,000 on the proposed upgrade, was fixed with an index.
So that's one of the things that I know you and I talk about a lot is that I mean it's possible to go and find out what the average IO latencies are without tracing, certainly. But it's a little trickier to be able to prove when something is not a particular program's problem, right? I mean, I think I don't know what the slow things were that you're talking about, but imagine that they're reports. I think they were reports, right?
They were, yeah, yeah.
Um, and it's real easy when a report runs slowly to go look at AWR and go, oh yeah, the latencies on our disk IOs are higher than we hope, so let's go buy a SAN. Um, for the express purpose of these three reports are slow, and we expect them to be faster if we were to buy one. So, what would it have looked like if they had gone ahead and bought the SAN?
Well, those two reports would have been, 1% faster, maybe. I can't remember the number for the job that we fixed with the index, but
Yeah,
going from rotating SATA disk to an SSD, I don't know, 30% improvement, maybe
yeah.
something like that.
So the nice thing is to be able to say, if you implement this proposed remedy action, then here is how the things that you care about will perform afterwards. And
Yeah, and we actually did that in a meeting with that airline. We told them this is not going to do anything for you, but if you do these things, you're going to be fine.
how did that go? Did they believe you right off? Was it a hard argument to sell them, or how did?
No, no, no. They had faith in us, and when we said this is the way it is, they said, "Okay, we're not going to buy anything."
Okay. And then
Yeah,
it doesn't hurt if what you predict actually happens, and it sounds like that's how it went down.
yeah, and that's what we proved actually with that index that we added to that query or whatever it was. We said this is going to do perform in this amount of time, and it did. So that was the end of the argument.
Outstanding. So that gives you points in the bank for your next argument.
Yeah.
Um, tell me about the warehouse.
Right, the warehouse in Pittsburgh, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, this was back when I was working with hot sauce, and I was sent to Pittsburgh. It was a huge warehouse, um, and they had difficulty filling trucks with stuff because everything was taking so slow. So on the first morning, I was supposed to be there for a week. So I came in on late on a Sunday, showed up at the office on Monday, supposed to do some stuff through Friday. But on Monday morning, I'm sitting in a conference room with the guys from the company and a few guys from Microsoft because this was also running on some Microsoft infrastructure.net, whatever.
Uh-huh.
The main focus was on that because the front end and the application tier and all that was written in Microsoft technology. So I'm just sitting there. And my major achievement on Monday was, I think, downing the fourth cup of coffee. That's there
So,
was very little attention paid to me. I was just there just for the hell of it.
so you flew
So
Sunday, obviously to get to an early Monday morning meeting,
yeah,
but they sort of prioritized the Microsoft guys ahead of you.
yeah. I think they were better dressed or something. I don't
I see. Well, you look quite dapper. I don't understand. I mean,
know. Well, this was
there
back
has
in
to
the
be an
day.
alternate hypothesis.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So
Okay,
anyway,
so something's going on. They haven't gotten to you yet.
yeah, and they're doing all kinds of stuff. I really wasn't interested in it, so I didn't write anything down. I was just waiting to get my turn. So Tuesday morning, I said, okay, can I do something? This just feels ridiculous. And I said, well, we don't know what you can do, but okay, can you tell me about the process? What happens? What's going on in the warehouse? Well, we have these guys walking around with these handheld scanners, scanning barcodes on boxes and crates and stuff, and they get moved and shipped and stuff put on them, and then they get put into trucks. Okay, so maybe I can figure something out there, I said. So I traced that thing, and I found that the scanning of the labels was taking 2 seconds of Oracle related work. The rest was outside of the database. So I looked at that execution plan and looked at the data structure and everything and said, okay, I think I can improve this. You want to say something?
Yeah. How much? So you said the database is 2 seconds of the total time. What was the total time?
Uh, Probably about 10 seconds or so.
Wow.
It
Okay.
was really long. It was bad. So yeah, so I was confident that I could help fix at least the Oracle side of the problem.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I looked at all the evidence, all the artifacts, and I suggested change the code, which they tested. And this brought the Oracle part of the problem from 2 seconds to 0.2 seconds.
Okay.
And they tried it in production on a few guys, and it really helped because I forget the exact details of it, but somehow it also cut some time from all the parts of the process.
Yeah.
So it
The
didn't
other
go
way.
from, yeah, so it didn't go from 10 to 8.2. It was 10 to maybe 6, something like that.
Uh-huh.
So the guy did some calculations on the Wednesday morning when I had, done my thing. And he said, well, given the number of times that the guys in the warehouse click that barcode scanner times the time saving from that small thing that you did, you have now enabled me to put 3 people to more productive work. You basically saved 3 jobs. You can go home. So that's what I did. I went home on a Wednesday rather than on a Friday.
Huh.
And they paid for the full week. That was pretty cool.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Our families ate because of that. So,
Yes.
um, one sentence that you said, I traced it. Tell me a little bit about that. How hard was it to trace? How hard was it to get? Because tracing always means you have to know a little bit about the application. You have to like convince somebody to do it.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't too hard. You know, they knew the entire process from the time that somebody clicked that scanning thing that would trigger something. So they could tell me, okay, this is what happens on the application server. So this is what you need to look for in your database. That's the SQL I'm going to send to you.
Uh,
So I just waited for it to come in, and I think I created a trigger on something,
okay.
and then captured it that way.
Huh. Very cool. So tell me like tell me your origin story as a as an optimizer troubleshooter in the Oracle world.
Right. I I started working with Oracle in 1999. I think it was just about the time that Oracle 8i came out,
Mhm.
thereabouts. Um, and basically, I started out just installing for clients and setting up data files on disks and creating, schemas and all that good stuff.
Mhm.
I never really got my head around the performance part of it because I thought it was really difficult. Maybe it was, the inexperience of youth or just, lack of self-confidence or something. But I thought, this stuff, this will require the hand the size of a planet to understand it. And all this, V dollar, X dollar, blah, 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 they could all, for all I knew, they could be talking about alchemy and tarot reading. It was, it didn't make sense to me.
Well, it's a huge schema that you have to keep in your brain. I mean, all these, basically most of the V dollar and X dollar stuff are all these aggregations in different dimensions of the same data. And there are all these, yeah, if you don't see this, it might mean A, but it also might mean not A, but B. To know, you have to go check this third thing. And yeah,
Right.
it is complicated.
It is, but I'm not saying that it's not useful. It's very useful when you use it in the right context, and I've done that multiple times. But I usually come from the other side, and like I did in this example that you mentioned. I was approached by a programmer where I was working for a client, and he said, "I have this huge batch job. It takes 8 hours to finish, and that's when we limit it. They were doing something at night, doing something to accounts, whatever they do. So we have to do like 60% every night and keep a rolling window because we can't do them all because it will run into the working day." I said, okay, let's try this one thing. And this was right about the time that your first book came out, the Optimizing Oracle Performance. I'm not counting your basic book. I said, okay, I have access to the profiler. I know how to get the trace data. I've never done it before, but let's try it. And this was really, honestly, the first time ever I tried this in production. I had played around with it a little bit on my own database. And the result was that I saw that 6.5 hours was spent on an execution plan that resulted in a huge amount of unified scattered reads and CPU consumption, which is usually a symptom of very inefficient SQL.
Mm-hmm.
So me and that programmer sat down and looked at the SQL. He knew all about the requirements of the application. And all we did was to change a union to a union all in that query. And it went from 6.5 hours to 8 or 9 seconds, really.
So,
and the entire batch went down from 8 hours to 1 hour.
So changing a union to a union all changes the result set, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And they actually found out that they had been getting the incorrect results all this time. So we also fixed the functional bug.
So it's faster and actually, oh yeah, by the way, now it actually works correctly.
that was it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that particular incident showed me that this wasn't magic, this was logic. And that was really the start of my optimizing career.
Well, so what is it? And God, I'm a trace advocate, so I can't once I clamp onto a trace subject, I can't let go. But what is it, would you say, about trace data that makes it easier, more accessible, or what is the aspect of trace data that makes you feel not like you described feeling about the $V and X world?
Well, it's just it's facts. It's a track record. It's a log. So you can just step through it. It's very hard to do manually. That's why you have things like the profiler. Yeah. But it would just show you what really happened without hiding any details in aggregations or group bys or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it is for me. I can just look at it and understand, yeah, I need to look at the big thing at the top and fix that, and then the world will be rosier.
Awesome. Well, that 25 minutes that I told you would go fast, it went fast.
Can we do another one?
Does anybody who's in the live audience have any questions for Gummi? We've got about half a minute left. I'm checking the chat. Don't see anything there. Gummi, do you have anything you'd like to say in the last half minute to seal us up?
No. It's been fun.
All right. So I exhausted everything. I took everything you brought this morning. Well, folks, thanks very much. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is a weekly show called Fill the Glass. We do it every Tuesday morning, 10:30 Central Time. And we sometimes have interesting guests, and we sometimes have just me. So next week might be a nice surprise for you. Stay tuned. I'll send you an announcement here shortly along with the video. So Gummi, thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate your time, and thank you for sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you.
All right. Until next time, see you later.